sat all night at a computer proofreading legal transcripts. Very exciting. This derailed, he also cameoed in Quarters of Opera Singer, but this derailed him from his healthy eating and exercise, and he sadly put a lot of the weight back on. Then in January 2016, he embarked on an experiment to take control of his health by learning about healthy food and diet and documenting every single bite he ate for 1 year. Tonight he is going to share some select details with you that helped him finally get back on the right track. The right track, Joshua Edwards. Woo!
Keep doing what you're doing. When you hear a doctor say those words to you, you know you're on the right track. Fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests, and friends and family. In January of 2016, I decided I was going to take control of my health. And I was going to do that by documenting every bite of food that I ate for 1 year. And there it is. Somebody call out a date.
April 26th, 2016.
April 26th. I will tell you what I ate on that day. At home, 2 egg muffins over a full plate of raw spinach. Egg muffins are, by the way, breadless. At work, mixed, fresh cut fruit from Garden of Eden, pineapples, melons, fat round blueberries and strawberries, green tea with 1 tablespoon of coconut oil. You get the idea. I'll spare you the rest of the details.
Sounds healthy.
Very. When I was developing this book, I wanted to read and learn as much as I could about what is healthy food. So I started reading and watching videos on the internet, and tonight I'm going to share with you 3 key concepts. The first video I stumbled upon was by Robert Lustig. Dr. Lustig is a professor of pediatrics at the University of California in San Francisco. A few years ago, he filmed a video called Sugar, the Bitter Truth. That was supposed to be just a regular college video, a college lecture. It ended up being a YouTube viral sensation, and it's been watched many million times. In it, he talks about the effect of consuming too much fructose in our diet and how that causes us to produce too much insulin, which causes the sugar to be stored as fat rather than burned as energy. In addition, it blocks the hormone leptin in our brain, which tells us that we are full. So what happens when we have too much sugar is that it gets stored as fat and we don't feel full. It's a vicious cycle. He also points as evidence to the fact that for the first time ever, there are documented cases of obese fetuses. These are children that are still in the womb that are already obese. So clearly, it's not the fault of the child. You can't pin personal responsibility and poor diet on the cause of obesity. He also talks about the biggest prevalence of diabetes is in the Middle East. And why? Because there's no alcohol allowed, there's limited access to clean drinking water, it's very hot, and they drink a lot of soda. And we all know what is in soda. A lot of sugar. In that video, he references a book written in 1972 by John Yudkin called Pure, White, and Deadly. So I immediately wanted to buy this book and read it. And once I got it, I finished it in one night. The best way I can describe this book is the word prescient, which means able to predict things to come. Here's a quote from Dr. Yudkin in the opening chapter of his book. I hope that when you have read this book, I shall have convinced you that sugar is really dangerous. So when I started on my healthy dieting, I decided to eliminate sugar as much as possible. That means no beer, no muffins, no pastries, as little carbs and pastas and bread as possible. And I also stopped eating breakfast cereal with milk. And here's a common misconception. If you drink skim milk and you think it's healthier, skim milk has just the same amount of sugar in it, 12 grams per cup, as whole milk. And the second major misconception that I learned is that taking fat out of food does not make it healthier. I'm sure we all know that by now, dietary fat does not equal body fat. Fat is just a source of energy, and it's actually very good for you. I read 2 books that opened my eyes to the healthy effects of fat in our diet. One is called Eat Fat, Get Thin by Dr. Mark Hyman, and the other is Good Calories, Bad Calories by Mary Taubes. Hyman talks about the healthy effects of high-fat, healthy foods like salmon, avocados, nuts and seeds. And in Good Calories, Bad Calories, the cover says it all. You have a picture of a pat of butter on a slice of toast. Good calories on the top, bad calories on the bottom. And the tagline says, fats, carbs, and the controversial science of diet and health. We've been led to believe that fat is the major culprit in heart disease and in obesity. And in fact, there's so much controversy because it's all the refined carbs and the sugars that get stored as fat instead of burned as energy. In fact, athletes will frequently take in a high-carb meal before they go out and perform because they need that quick source of energy. But what happens if you eat that energy and you don't do the exercise? The last thing I want to talk about is my exploration of what are called superfoods. These are foods that maybe you've heard of or maybe you've never heard of, but they're really great to incorporate into your daily diet. And I'm only going to talk about one. I found a website called Food Republic, and they have a list of the top 25 most nutrient-dense vegetables, cruciferous and green leafy vegetables. And at the very top of the list, number 1 with a nutrient density score of 100, is watercress. So of course I started reading all about watercress. I had never heard of it, had no idea what it was. Watercress has more iron than spinach, more vitamin C than oranges. It's packed with vitamin A, which helps form pigments in the retinas of the eyes that can help prevent night blindness, and super packed with vitamin K that can help prevent neuronal damage in the brain and can help treat Alzheimer's disease. So watercress is a superfood that you want to incorporate into your diet. In closing, I'll just tell you a quick story about how I knew I was on the right track. In May of last year, when I was just 4 months into my project, I was working in federal court, and a coworker of mine, Lisa, and I decided to go to the staff doctor and have our blood drawn and have our cholesterol tested and just see, how are we doing? So we went down together, they took the blood, 3 days later, we both went down to get the results. What does the doctor say to Lisa? You really gotta watch what you eat and try to get those cholesterol levels down. What did the doctor say to me? Keep doing what you're doing. Your levels are all excellent. So that's how I knew that I was on the right track.